So in this video, I want to talk about volume 10 of High School DxD, and this is one of those volumes where there's a multitude of sort of tragic layers to this story. And as far as it goes with the anime, it's interesting when looking at the light novel and the anime as well, because there are some differences. Some things that you could say are positive and some things that are negative as far as the adaptation goes. There are some things that are actually in the anime that are not in the light novel and kind of done in a different way, and you could argue whether you're for that or against that. I definitely can understand why some people think that actually the anime adds a little bit more to Issei and some of his character development, while some could argue maybe it should have stayed more pure to the light novel. I'd be interested to know people's thoughts, but there is some interesting stuff to do with his fear of women. But the first thing I want to talk about is Bale himself. I really like this guy. The reason being is because of how noble he is, how he's driven by purpose, but also he's got a really sad backstory as well, purely for the fact that he doesn't have those like devil powers, and so he's built himself up layer by layer by layer by just pure raw strength alone. He is just an absolute powerhouse, and he's proven, honestly in my opinion, he should have proven to everyone in Devil Society that he is a force to be reckoned with. He is an honorable individual, and he is someone that deserves respect and influence amongst the Devil Society. But because of how the society is and how it's always kind of like a power vacuum, which is what I like about High School DxD, it adds that realistic element to like Devil Society itself and the politics that go on. It's just one of those where it's like you kind of really feel bad for him, because there's always these power struggles, these strings being pulled, the old system, and how some of the old families want things to work the way they want it. And so there's all these kind of stigmas and all that kind of stuff that go on, and also with the fact that his mother brought him up and she was kind of treated poorly because of the fact that, well, he didn't have these devil powers, so it's seen as a negative aspect. So it's fallen on her as the blame by the father that, hey, he didn't have these, it's your fault. And so she goes into this deep depressional slump and goes into a deep sleep, but then wakes up at the end where she basically gets to say, hey, you know, it's me, I know who you are. And that's a really touching moment, and the anime does a really good job at that, by the way. Like, again, comparing, I talked about in volume 9 how I don't like the dubbed for High School DxD. The same thing applies. The corny puns, just the way they try to overdo it, especially with the constant like swearing. Like, I don't have a problem with swearing, to be very clear, but the issue is when it's forced. Like, it's not really, it's like they put it there to try and be funny, but it's not funny. It's just kind of like annoying at the amount of puns, and especially during more serious moments, like the certain fight that I was getting to with Bale and Issei right at the end. That kind of stuff detaches away from it. So it's one of those where I can definitely understand why people don't like the dub for High School DxD. Some of the dub is actually good. Some of the puns can actually feel like, you know, Issei just being Issei. But at the same time, there are moments where I'm like, this is a little bit more serious. I think throwing these in kind of detaches away from the characters in itself. And you also kind of got to ask yourself the question, does these puns kind of fit into the character itself? And Issei being who he is, sure, some of them make sense, but some of them also just feel really cheesy. Like Volume 9's Typod reference. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I really like Bale. He's one of my favorite characters outside of the cast itself, and I always enjoy seeing more of him and seeing how he plays out and how he grows in this volume. It's just absolute phenomenal. But it goes back into that whole Devil Society and how it's structured, which also leads into Ravel as well. Now Ravel's kind of been free from her brother's sort of influence. Her mother's got her back and traded all kind of thing, and now Ravel's decided to kind of help Issei, and you can kind of see that there's a clear crush there. Like, you can see all these girls have a crush on Issei, and Ravel's one of those that's joined in. But Issei being Issei, he is oblivious to all of these things, and that falls into the major element of this volume. Issei not understanding how Rias feels, and also him not being honest with himself, always referring to her as president, which is understandable. And this is the thing, I made a video a long time ago that's long lost and deleted now, but it was basically called Issei's Fear of Women, and it talked about that. Now, in the light novels, it's not as heavily delved into, and this is what I meant before about the anime and the light novel differences. I feel like the anime actually did a little bit more to build on it, and I can see why some people may or may not like that. I actually do kind of like the way the anime does it a little bit. Again, there are some issues that I have with the anime, but there are some things that I do like as well. And I feel like it really highlights Issei's growth as a character. Like, sure, he's got this interest in, you know, the peaks of mountains and all that kind of stuff, and the melons and whatever pun you want to put in there. But putting his perversion aside, he is still a human being. He still has feelings. He still wants to be wanted. And so him being too scared to get too close to girls, it's like kind of like he likes flirting, he likes imagining things, he likes when they kind of want to push themselves onto him and, you know, get down in the dirty. But there is also kind of that fear that always kind of like is inside of him, and it's understandable because his first ever proper date and crush tried to kill him. Well, actually did kill him, then he was brought back and then tried to kill him again multiple times. So you could understand why he's kind of a little bit hesitant. And I think that's one of the major pillars of this volume is Issei's growth as a character. And that's why I do like the way the anime does it. But again, some people will like that, some people won't. I remember making the video way back and some people got really angry about it because they didn't like how the anime did it and they wanted it to be pure. I don't mind anime and light novels being different as long as it keeps to the core story element, and instead of taking things away, I prefer an anime to add to the story. That's why I do really like this season, because it's done loyally. It adds to the characters, it makes you like them more, it builds on them multi layers, and it also just has a large cast and just the world itself. I know people argue about the art style, but art style is irrelevant to the overall arcing story development in itself, and I think that is what should be more talked about rather than this whole thing of old versus new art style. But I really, really love the development that went into Issei in this volume, not just from a light novel perspective, but also from an anime as well. And then you talk about Ravel. So this whole thing is just about the raiding games. Issei's road to fame with the grab and dragon, him interacting with fans. Again, I really love that interaction. Issei still being pure to who he is. I think he loves being the grab and dragon, but I also think he also genuinely enjoys seeing the reaction on his fans' faces and being like, hey, they really like this. They really enjoy it. Sure, Rias is, you know, sort of just playing along and it's all making good money for the Rias Grimmery family, but Issei, I think, really loves the fact that he can be there for the fans. And that also goes back to that side story volume as well about his, so that guy that he grew up with in the previous volume who kind of got him into the kind of stuff that he's into. I think that kind of stems into it just being true to who he is, and that's what I like about it, is that he hasn't let the fame get to his head at all. And then you get into the raiding games itself. The fight itself is just phenomenal. It's just absolute epic. And that's the thing about High School DxD is, yeah, it's a harem. It's got comedy. It's got romance in it. It's got a school setting in it. But it's also kind of like a battle showman as well, where there's a lot of character progression in the sense of power, like a video game where they're constantly trying to level up, get new powers, get new abilities, get that armor set up stronger and stronger and stronger. And the different armor sets in the anime look amazing. In the actual light novels, the art itself looks amazing. And so it's really amazing and fun to see these characters build on that power layer by layer by layer by layer. So the actual raiding games itself, really love. It's just one of those things that actually surprises me, because I'm not a big Dragon Ball Z fan. Like, I watched it as a kid, I grew up with it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of all the power showmans and the grunting and the constant level ups, boom 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 boom, get your scale up to over 9,000 kind of thing. Yeah, I remember the meme from back then. I watched it back when that first ever happened. And so it's interesting to see how High School DxD has kind of got me into something that I never thought I would actually be into in itself. So that's really awesome. And again, this falls back to one major element to this volume that I want to end with. Issei finally acknowledging his feelings towards Rias, and Rias being able to see that yes, he does love her, she loves him, he loves her, and they're able to come together and say, yeah, we have feelings for each other, and finally confess it, rather than just odd kiss and Issei being completely oblivious. And yeah, he is an idiot. At the same time, I think everyone kind of knew that was what he was like, and I feel like maybe some of his friends around him, and I'm not talking like the two knobheads, but I'm talking about like his actual occult research club friends, should have maybe tried to approach him and say, hey, You know, can't you take a hint? You need to think about what Rias is feeling and try and reciprocate that. At least do some self-discovery in yourself, Issei, and approach this problem. But again, you got to understand that Issei is fearful of rejection, which is funny because of everything that's transpired, but that's the thing about the human mind. You could have the complete red lights in a sort of a traffic sign, like, you know, as a flight coming down, you can have those little signs, everything saying go, 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 it's all a green light, you've got the landing perfect, but still you won't make it, or you won't do it because you're scared that you'll still fail it, even if it's 100% guarantee. And that's what Issei is. Deep down inside, he should know that Rias feels the same way. All the signs are there, but he's petrified because of his own insecurity. Which is funny because of the kind of person that he is, but it shows that there is a deep-seated fear inside of him. And that's what I really like. I like the way the anime did that. Again, to each their own, looking from the anime to the light novel, but I do think it was a nice little touch of how they did it. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of Volume 10 of High School DxD, and what did you think of the episodes 7 through 12 of High School DxD Season 4? So again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.